Hug. 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 Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Please rise for the pledge.
Starting at what time?
To the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, go ahead and sit down. I'm going to forego my remarks in light of the hour. So thank you for your consideration.
Very well said. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
An affidavit of publication is on file for the pre-council and city council meeting, and a current copy of the Open Meeting Act is posted in a white binder on the east wall of legislative chambers.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the City Council. Thank you for our patience as we went a little bit long there as the Board of Equalization. We look forward to hearing your remarks on our many items today. I would encourage you to turn your cell phones off or at least to vibrate. If you have difficulty hearing the proceedings today, you can see our Building Commission attendant here up front for a listening device, or we also will have the screen in the back for closed captioning.
Item 6, to consider a Class C liquor license for Bomb Taco located at 5003 Underwood Avenue.
Public hearing and vote on number 6 is today. The applicant, please come down. Yep. Your name and address, please.
Home address?
Yeah.
6322 South 100th Street, Omaha, Nebraska 68127, Juan Magaña.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents today? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing's closed. I want to welcome you to Dundee. I know you're taking over the old taco spot that was there.
Yeah.
And so what's your timeline for opening there?
Today.
All
as
right.
soon as you say we're good, I'm going to go back and open the doors.
We'll take a motion and get you out of here. There's a motion and a second. Roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Good luck.
Thank you, guys.
Item 7, to consider a Class C liquor license for Santoro Cantina located at 8601 West Dodge Road, Suite 101.
Public hearing and vote on number 7 is today. Proponents, please.
Morning, Mr. President, members of the council. David Houghton on behalf of the applicant, Santora Cantina LLC. I am at 2804 South 87th Avenue. This business is located at 8601 West Dodge Road, Suite 101. The hours of operation right now are contemplated to be 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday, though they'll keep the bar open maybe another hour or so after they're serving food, so maybe until 11 or 11:30. If the council has any questions, I'd be happy to address any that they have. Thank you.
Any other proponents for number 7? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. There's a motion and a second to approve. Roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Item 8, to consider a Class C liquor license for the Tipsy Pig located at 1150 Sterling Ridge Drive, Suite 100.
Public hearing and vote on number 8 is today. Proponents, please.
Helen Russell on behalf of the applicant. Address is 1025 Regency Circle, Suite 300, 68114. And Nicole Ilg also on behalf of the applicants.
Great, thank you. Any other proponents that want to speak today? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve. Roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Thank you.
Item 9, to consider a Class I liquor license for Homegrown located at 3555 Farnham Street, Suite 102.
Public hearing and vote on number 9 is today. Proponents, please.
Hello. My name's Dave Ryburn. I'm the director of Homegrown. The address is 3555 Farnham Street, Omaha, Nebraska, Suite 102.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other proponents that want to speak today? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. Mr. Bagley, you're recognized.
President, Mr. Ryburn, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
I had a nice phone call with Ms. Mitchell from Homegrown this week,
Yep.
If you want to just basically explain, first, welcome to Blackstone. You have other locations around the country?
We do. So currently, we're part of a restaurant group, but I represent Homegrown as a part of that group. We have 11 homegrowns that are currently open, and we'll have 15 open by May of 2025.
Okay, and this is the first one in Nebraska?
This will be the first one in Nebraska.
Okay. And what are you going to be serving, and what are your hours of operation?
Yeah. So we're a daytime eatery where we specialize in items from the community, local items, spices, seasonings, meats, breads. We will serve from 6:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. 7 days a week, and we're just hoping to serve the best brunch in Omaha is our intent.
She talked about pancakes and waffles and bacon and eggs, amongst other things.
We won't have waffles, but yes, there's no fryers and no waffle iron in a
Okay.
Homegrown. Yeah,
Bacon and eggs?
bacon, eggs,
All right.
locally sourced. Yes,
And then lunch, and then that goes like soup and sandwiches and other,
that is correct.
okay.
Yes.
And when are you planning on opening?
We're on track for February 3rd for opening day.
Okay, well, welcome to Blackstone. We're glad to have you here in the heart of Omaha. I'll make a motion to support this, Mr. President. Thank you.
Motion and second to approve. Roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley.
Aye.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Item 10, a resolution to approve the preliminary plat for Dunham House located at 7808 North 60th Street. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval. B is an amendment requested by Councilmember Festerson.
Public hearing and vote on number 10 is today. Proponents, please. Welcome, Mayor Dobb.
Mr. President, I don't get to say that very often anymore, so I'd like to do that. Doug, introduce.
Doug Dreesen, 10836 Old Mill Road, appearing on behalf of the applicant.
Hal Dobb, 314 North 97th Court, a member of the Board of Directors of Wounded Warriors Family Support and Dunham House, the applicant before you today.
Great, thank you.
I don't know if we should speak on this or on the amendment.
Go ahead, address it now, and I'll bring up the amendment for you, too.
Ladies and gentlemen, members of the council, I'm privileged to be a member of the Board of Directors of Dunham House, which is a fully owned, 100% owned subsidiary of Wounded Warriors Family Support. Both organizations may be known to you. The Wounded Warriors Family Support nonprofit is a nationally recognized $5 million nonprofit aimed at basically assisting veterans and their families. It's been around thanks to the vision of Colonel John Folsom, who's a retired colonel, Marine colonel, who lives here in Omaha about 12 years ago. That organization has spawned this applicant, Dunham House, named after a Congressional Medal of Honor individual. And it will be the first place in the country that specifically accommodates the living environment for combat wounded veterans. So this will be the first place in the country where people who generally today are in the age range of 45 to 50 to 70 that didn't get their finger cut in the motor pool somewhere in the world, but actually were engaged in combat and were wounded and have a permanent disability of some kind. This is a 40-acre tract of land out near the Omaha Country Club that is fully paid for, no debt, and the flags are in the ground for excavation to start with permits issued to build the first 30 living units on that tract of what we hope in the next 5 years will be 120 places for people who have that affliction. Their families are aging out to where they won't be alive to care for them. They generally have no other dependents or siblings to take care of them. And while the VA system from a medical care point of view is good, their living care is not provided. They're usually pretty much on their own and have tough circumstances living in long-term care facilities by themselves and isolated. So this will be an interesting opportunity for us. We have a great board. What I want to point out is the land is paid for and there's no debt. The construction money's in the bank. There'll be no debt to finance the first $8 million of project, and we'll go into the ground on March 1st. your approval today of not only this plat, thanks to the planning department and a lot of work over the last 3 or 4 years with the folks here in the city, but with the street naming, which will come from the amendment you, I take it, have agended and will offer, will get us going with a address and stationery that we won't have to reprint later on if we have to change the name of the street. So that's why we're here today.
Great.
wanna
Thank
say
you.
anything?
No, we've been here long enough.
Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Any other proponents that want to speak today?
Oh, we can sit down, I guess. Sit right here.
Larry Storer, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha, 68132. This is one project that I'm totally behind. And certainly, I want to thank Mr. Duff for all his years of service and wisdom. And I'd like to say that this is one project that I could certainly see some building with TIF financing, and certainly a nonprofit that I would back. And it's about time that organizations like this had a voice at the microphone. We haven't heard about our vets for a lot of years, and not even on Veterans Day, various things. And if anybody deserves a go at it, it would be this organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other proponents today? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing's closed. We have some lights on. I'll start by addressing it a little bit. This isn't my district, and I agree with our proponent testimony here today. It's a very worthy project. It's badly needed, and it's at a great location on North 60th Street there, previously undeveloped, with a nice berm and separation from the current neighborhood. They've had good neighborhood meetings on this topic. I know the neighborhood's in support as well, and something I think we all support in terms of our wounded warriors and the case that's been made by Mayor Dobb and the board and others here as to why this is needed. I'll mention the amendment. The amendment does just strike a planning board and planning department requirement that the new street that gets created inside the development be called Sheffield Street, which was just an extension of a street to the east by way of procedure. I think they were just following that by way of procedure. But I think all would agree it's a very worthy amendment to change the name to Jason Dunham Drive in the process, which is consistent with the brand of the housing and also in recognition of a Congressional Medal of Honor winner. So I was pleased to offer that amendment and would move that amendment and then take further comments from other council members.
I'll second the amendment.
Actually, I guess I can't move it. I guess you have to move it.
I'll move it. I will move the amendment. Second. Well.
Great. There's a motion, a second for the amendment on the floor. Ms. Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Dobb. If you would kindly come back up to the mic.
Sure.
Mr. Dobb, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
How long have you been working on this project?
I've been on the principal board for probably 10 years, and I'm on Dunham's House board since it was incorporated as a wholly owned subsidiary. 2020? 2020. You could note. So I've been on the Dunham House board since it started. So I guess it's been 4 years, and
Wow.
we started out at a different location. The planning department helped us through that, and the infrastructure costs of that first site north were going to be so burdensome and take so long that we owned that land, that by selling it and we broke even on that, we were able to find this much more suitable site with much less site preparation cost. It's working out for us from a financial point of view. The occupants of this property to begin with will generally have some VA benefit, probably some Medicaid eligibility, very little other insurance or private pay. So in addition to the living environment, which will be adapted and suitable to their handicapped circumstances, and it's a facility built for men and women,
Okay.
that they will need continuing nonprofit support as we move from this facility being open to the second and third phases yet to come, which we'll probably be talking to you about as time goes by. But the zoning is complete. The circumstances we're in right now will mean that we can start construction in March. The flags are up now. Permits have been issued, and we just worry about the frost right now and cold weather, and probably take us about a year to finish the facility and to have it fully occupied within the next 18 months.
Wow.
We picked Omaha. We're a nationwide 4-star rated charity because of the terrific health care availability here in our city and the geographic location to the airport, to Iowa, and generally speaking to the hospitals in the north side of the city. So it's a good site and the professional care they'll get there, besides a donkey that we may want to get permitted to be there because, you know, Colonel Folsom wrote a book called Smoke the Donkey. So it's a pretty famous story. For Brinker Harding knows about the story, which will be making it a very accommodating space for the 30 people that are there. The men and women there will have a place that's not just a room.
Okay. So would it be safe to say you're the brains behind
Oh,
this?
no, Colonel Folsom gets all the credit for it, and he's got a great board. I'm just happy to help. I like projects, whether it's the Broom Man or whether it's a Lady Liberty or whether it's this. I like to make sure that we do things that civically impact our city in a positive way. This is one of them. I think it's important, and I think you all know about it. Appreciate the time and interest you've had in it. I particularly appreciate, Mr. President, your offering the amendment to get the street name, because it's a stub street. It's not going to go anywhere else. So I think that Planning Department understands that we're not trying to be in the way of the planning rules, but this is an exception to that rule that makes sense from a cost-saving point of view. Our nonprofit will not have to go through a separate set of costs to go through an address change and then a stationary change and face our marketing changes would be pretty expensive. So this will be a great help financially to the nonprofit and to us getting started. We appreciate it very much. And I want to thank Brinker Harding too, for he's been a part of what we've been trying to do for a long time. And thank you, Councilman.
Well, I just want to say, I think that this project is well thought out and very much needed.
Yeah, we've been at it for a while. You know.
Right, and I'm definitely behind this.
Thank you.
And it does make sense.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Kevin.
Thank you, Mr. Harding.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was going to bring up a little bit of the history of this. I mean, I think if it weren't for John's grit and determination, and I think all of us who know John understand what that means.
He's a Marine, that's why.
And knowing that, I mean, this, and seriously, for the original site, which was out near Rainwood, which is near the police fire training facility, but when that ultimately didn't work out, and an alternate site and a much better site, preferred site really, was identified. I just want to thank John and Hal and Doug and the rest of the board for their determination in seeing this through, and had been, had those discussions with John as well about changing the name, and was going to make the same amendment request, but will support, obviously, Council President Festerson's amendment to do so into naming the street instead of Sheffield to Dunham. So on behalf of the citizens of Omaha and this board, thank you for seeing this through, looking forward to helping those veterans who need these services, and looking forward to the future phases of this as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Melton.
Thank you. Well, I just wanted to say, Mr. Dodd, thank you. In your retirement from public service, you continue to serve the public.
Retired. Dirty word.
Thank you. Thank you very much for putting all the time in, and especially for such a worthy organization such as Wounded Warriors, and helping these veterans that so desperately deserve and have earned our help. So thank you for doing it. Yeah, I wholeheartedly support this, and would like to continue to see how we can help assist you in this project going forward. First 30 units, but I can't wait to see a full 120 units. That'll be great for our entire community and those you're serving. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Begley.
Thanks, Mr. President. I'll be brief, but Colonel Folsom, you sent emails on this within the last few months, and talked to Councilmember Festerson, who's done good work on this, and seeing Mr. Dobb here today. I know you work behind the scenes a lot, but as a veteran yourself, they're lucky to have your talents, and is evident by no debt on this, and a great project, and I'm glad to support for the 30 units now and then the 120 in the future. For we all support our veterans, and this is having your skill set and the council doing our duty today. I'm glad to support this today. Thanks, Mr. President.
Thank you. There's no further lights. There was a motion and a second on the amendment. Oh, please, yeah.
I'm sorry. The reason for the 120 is because when you get a veteran that's in a tough physical and mental circumstances, the first 30 will be in. Then aging in place, a concept you all know, some of those veterans will go on to need more intensive and skilled care. So as we expand the property, they won't have to leave or move. They can stay there because they'll have medical services as if a skilled nursing facility would offer in the same environment where they've had their friendship circle and their living unit together. So there's a method in our madness about the property location, the terrific healthcare services that are in Omaha, which is a big plus for this kind of care, which is not offered anywhere else in the country. So it should be a pretty signal project that gets a lot of attention as we go by, because there'll be additional growth, a change in the care there to more intensive care as people age in place, and we won't have to help them find a different place to live, probably in some other state, because we don't offer that kind of careful, managed special care for their disability or their mental impairment.
Thank you. We're honored to have the first one. There was a motion and a second on the amendment. No further lights. Roll call.
Harding. Yes. Hug. Yes. Johnson. Yes. Melton.
Yes.
Rowe. Yes. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Move to approve as amended.
Second. Roll call.
Harding. Yes. Hug. Yes. Johnson. Yes. Melton.
Yes.
Rowe. Yes. Bagley. Aye. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Thank you. Thanks for your testimony.
Items.
Come back and see us more often.
Thank you. Well.
Items 11 through 13 can be considered together for Hartman Ridge, located at 5517 North 52nd Street. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval. Item 11, an ordinance to rezone this property from R2 District to R3 District. Items 12 and 13, resolutions to approve the preliminary plat and final plat.
Public hearing and vote on items 11 through 13 are today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. Ms. Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. This question is for City Planning Director Fanslow. I see the applicant on this project is Charles Hill. Is he in today?
Dave Fanslow, City Planning. I do not know if he's here or not.
Mr. Hill, if you would come forward, please.
My name is Charles Hill Jr. I'm a developer on this project. Address 5517 or 52nd Street.
All right, thank you. Just wanted to give you an opportunity to do an info commercial on this project so that it's on the record, as well as for those that are listening are able to know what's about to come.
This project is splitting a 1 acre property into 2 parcels for affordable housing. I got a developer loan through Spark CDI to finance the project.
And you mentioned affordable housing. Did you want to dive into that? Because affordable housing could be a definition that spans from, what, $600 a month to $2,000 a month.
These houses will not be for rent. These are for sale. They're for certain AMI family within that census tract. So we will be seeking those individuals for sale.
Okay, and obviously there will be opportunities for construction workers. Can you tell me a little bit about how that will be fleshed out?
Yes, the builder will be David Lauren Construction. I hired them, and together we have hired the subcontractors that will help us build these homes.
So would you say that there will be opportunities for those in the construction field in that community to have an opportunity to provide those services?
Yeah, I think they come with a trusted network of subcontractors that we will be using for this project.
And who did you say your general contractor is?
David Lauren Construction.
Okay. And when will the project begin?
We plan on, once approved, we got to get with the Douglas County assessor. The address will be assigned. Then David Lauren will be submitting their building permits to start construction. So as soon as possible, it looks like probably around January and February, and it takes 5 to 6 months until completion.
Thank you, I appreciate that. All right, sounds like a good project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bagley.
Thanks, Mr. President. CJ, you don't got to come back up, but I didn't recognize you without your OPPD hard hat, but I wanted to thank you. Just number one, I'm going to support this project, but as a lineman at OPPD, the work you do, especially during storm restoration, just thanks for that. The community's lucky to have you in this project, so thanks for that.
Appreciate that.
Thanks, Mr. President.
I believe this is your first housing project in front of the city council, right?
This is, yeah.
Great. Hopefully we'll see you back for many more.
Thank you.
All right. Is there a motion? Motion a second to approve. Roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Items 14 through 17 can be considered together for West Village Point, replat 13, located southeast of 180th and Burke Streets. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval. Item 14, an ordinance to approve a major amendment to mixed-use district development agreement. Items 15 and 16, resolutions to approve the preliminary plat and final plat. Item 17, a resolution to approve the subdivision agreement.
Public hearing and vote on items 14 through 17 are today. Proponents, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of council. My name is Todd Swarzek, 2285 South 67th Street, here representing the applicant on this case. This is a plat and a major amendment to the mixed-use development agreement for West Village Point. This project is a mixed-use development where there will be a Kia dealership, about a 35,000 square foot Kia dealership, an adjacent car wash open to the public, and then about 10,000 square feet of retail. Future phases may include a parking structure with some liner residential buildings, but that is in the distant future, not part of the original kind of concept right now. But I'm here to answer any questions that you might have.
Great, thank you. Any other proponents today? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve. Roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Thanks.
Item 18, an ordinance to amend the boundaries of the ACI overlay district to incorporate into that district the property located northwest of North Saddle Creek Road and Northwest Radial Highway. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval.
Public hearing and vote on number 18 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, any opponents?
Larry Store, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha, 68132. I am against this. I have kind of followed it for quite a while since I live close to that area, and I go through it sometimes three times a day. And when this first started, of course, it was approved in another meeting before it ever got to this chamber, but it was a much smaller project. And I kept wondering, well, just how many businesses and homeowners are going to be affected by what started out to be a special assessment for streetscape, whatever. New stripes on the peanut, a little bit of striping on the rest of the street, but didn't really say anything about in the right-of-way and from the right-of-way who is going to be affected by this expense of it. Maybe some businesses, maybe some residences that are close by, like behind the restaurant, and maybe as far half a block behind the bars. Well, looked at this last night and I think, oh boy, that really expanded. But this is what happens. It gets voted on once, 2 or 3 meetings ago, and then the amendments come up and it changes everything substantially. Looks to me like it severely enlarged the area. So I think, oh boy, they're getting real close to me now. Maybe I'll even be affected by this, cost-wise. And of course, the bowling alley, the former bowling alley, which is now a church, they're maybe in favor of it because they're way back off the street. Some of the old apartment buildings in there need to be cleaned out, yes. But there's a lot of businesses along that route from Northwest Radio up to the Peanut that it was the original concept, as I remember, that yes, needs to get cleaned up. Maybe some businesses. But it looks like now they're talking about Walnut Hill, which, as I recall, Walnut Hill is across the radio at Hamilton and goes up the east and south. A lot of that does need to get fixed, but I wonder how many people in the Walnut Hill area are aware of it, that an amendment has been made that changes it, as far as I understand. If I'm wrong, please show me where I'm wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other opponents today? Seeing none, public hearing's closed. Council members, this is a project I've worked directly on, and I'll just explain what this item does today. This is the North Saddle Creek Business Improvement District area. We're working directly with a BID there on a program of work for about $5.8 million worth of renovation to the streetscape that has its funding sources all prepared and ready to go, pending the actual bid of the project, which will happen December and January, and is on track for spring construction of 2025. It's very similar to what we did in the Dundee Business District area, and it's following that same roadmap. So what we have before us here today is a zoning overlay called an area of civic importance. And the reason why that's important as a companion issue to the actual capital project is because once you start doing these things, the idea is it will create additional development and small businesses in the area and help clean up the area at the same time. That is already taking place. And so this item has been taken to the BID and all the property owners in which it impacts, which is Northwest Radial west to the Peanut along that spine of North Saddle Creek Road, and they're all in favor of this item today. It does not require a current property owner to do anything to their property. Only if they did a major renovation would this come into effect to their current location. But what it would do is if a new development comes in to any of these parcels, it would require them to be consistent with the character of the neighborhood and consistent with the capital construction project that we'll undertake here in a few months. So I'm happy to support this today and would welcome a motion on that. Ms. Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. This question is for the City Planning Director Fanslow. Larry raises a very important question, which is how will this impact Walnut Hill Neighborhood Association? As we all know that last year or this year, we had a development plan that failed. Walnut Hill was here present, had some concern of how that was going to shape up, look like. So since this is touching that area, I too am concerned about the impact of Walnut Hill and its residents and how much engagement did they have with this or know about this, and does that somehow remove the vote that we had earlier this year regarding Walnut Hill.
Dave Fanslow, City Planning. The only affected properties with this overlay are in the map in your attachment, and it's only those properties that have direct access or abut North Saddle Creek for that 4 or 5 block area.
So thank you for that, those remarks. But I'm going to be very clear. Will this impact Walnut Hill and their concerns regarding what they were concerned about that was brought to this body some months ago?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Harding, you're recognized. Thank you. I'm just going to expand a little bit about what you were talking about this does. It's quite simple. I mean, it further addresses, it's an overlay, and it further addresses things like sidewalk treatments, building materials, parking lot landscaping. This is all to the benefit of the neighborhood. And as you said, the neighbors are behind the plan. This should not be controversial at all. It's something that benefits the neighborhood, gives higher standards for development, and again, since those that are affected by the development have all bought into it and agreed to it, it should not be any issue. So I will, because you can't make the motion, I'll make the motion for approval.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. No further lights. Roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Item 19, an ordinance to approve a major amendment to PUR overlay district located at 120 North 39th Street. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval.
Public hearing and vote on number 19 is today. Proponents, please.
Good afternoon. Don Heine, Thompson, Dreesen, and Dorner, 10836 Old Bell Road, representing the applicant. Here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any other proponents? Seeing none. Any opponents? Public hearing is closed. There's a motion and a second to approve. Roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Items 20 through 22 can be considered together for property located southwest of 72nd and Farnham Streets. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval. Item 20, an ordinance to rezone this property from GI District and GC District to CC District. Item 21, an ordinance to approve a PUR overlay district. Item 22, an ordinance to amend the boundaries of the ACI overlay district to incorporate this property into that district.
Public hearing and vote on items 21, 20, 21, and 22 are today. Proponents, please.
Hello, Brett West, representing West Development and the owners of the property. This is where Jimmy John's is on 72nd and Farnham. So here to answer any questions if you have any for me.
Thank you. Any other proponents today?
Minor Martinez with Shemmer, 1044 North 115th Street, here in Omaha, 68154. Here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Other proponents? Seeing none. Any opponents?
Sarah Pernicek representing Hickory 72 Inc. On behalf of Alec Jones, located at 9290 West Dodge Road. Our office represents Hickory 72 Inc., which owns the strip malls located directly adjacent to the proposed development plan. And I want to start off by saying that Hickory Inc. does approve the plan. They think it's a great idea to put an apartment complex there. With the exception of the Jimmy John's, the lots are vacant lots that have no development on them to help revitalize that business district around 72nd Street. However, the concern is looking at the planning department's proposed plan is with regard to the parking. The zoning requirements require that there be 276 parking spaces, but the plan actually only calls for 212. My client's concern is that this is a 25% variance in the parking requirements. The only other public lots in the area that would accommodate overflow traffic would be the lots at the strip mall located by Hickory 72 Inc. And they did not see any proposed accommodations for how that overflow parking would be handled.
Okay, thank you. Any other opponents today?
Larry Store, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha, 68132. Although this right now does not involve TIF, I'm sort of against it for the reason that I'd like to see a map of it, of the area. I go by there a lot, but I can't quite visualize which businesses in that particular area are probably going to go by the wayside for apartments and small retail organizations in order to justify the big buses. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other opponents? Seeing none, public hearings closed. Mr. Begley, you're recognized.
Thanks, Mr. President. Mr. West, can you come up? Good afternoon.
Sir, hello.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
So you and I met with on this a few weeks back.
Mhm.
Regarding the parking, I think it's 276 required, 207. Is that what you're
Yeah,
providing?
I think we have a little bit more than that. And the parking in this, obviously, we're taking advantage of the connections to the bus lines in the area. We're very much attracted to this site to address other questions. The site is vacant other than the Jimmy John's, which will become a partner in the project and will relocate into the project. So that business will be retained. Obviously, the rest of the businesses are no longer there. And the parking is also, there's a significant amount inside the building. So maybe the neighbor didn't recognize the parking garage that's inside the building.
No, I appreciate you. The orbit line's right there, the bus line. And this, just for people listening, this is just south of Dodge Street. Is it 2 blocks, I guess,
Yeah.
Farnham Street? And they're building the library there. So this is just on the south side of the library.
Correct.
And you had said again today that the Jimmy John's is going to be relocated in the base of the new
Yep.
complex.
Yep. And I think the parking is largely driven by the retail uses, but Jimmy John's isn't a really heavy retail parking use. And then we'll have residents parking in surface lots as well as a significant amount inside the building. So I think that parking is probably overstated for those uses in that area. So there should be a lot of options for people to walk and use alternative transportation. We have a lot of bike storage in the project already as well. So we think it'll be a good walkable addition to the neighborhood.
And you had mentioned that. I'm glad you brought that up again today on the bike storage. That's, I know in my role in the council, learning about the different things and new developments. How many bike storage spaces will you have there?
I think we'll have probably about 15, and then in front of every parking stall, there will be the ability to hang your bike up there if the resident chooses to add that.
Okay, thanks, Brad.
Yep.
I got a question for, I guess it'll be for Mr. Stubbe.
Bob Stubbe, Public Works.
Bob, the issues, with traffic on 72nd Dodge Street, can you speak to a little bit about when this project went forward through planning, or maybe Dave could address it, but on what kind of traffic studies are done when there's a 200, how many units are going here? 176?
Yeah.
So when something, Bob, goes in the planning process, can you briefly touch on how Public Works Traffic Engineering looks at this project before it goes forward?
Yeah, in this particular case, obviously, we've got 72nd Street running north and south. We've got West Dodge going east and west. So it's in close proximity to the existing major arterials in the area. At 72nd and Farnham Street, there's a traffic signal at the location. If you go further to the west, there's another traffic signal up off about 74th and Dodge Street. So I don't believe, and maybe the gentleman from Shemer can address that, but I don't believe that there was probably a requirement for a traffic study at that particular location.
Can you confirm that for us, Brett? Thanks, Bob.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have, Mr. President. I'll make a motion to approve this today. Thanks.
Motion and a second to approve. Mr. West, just one thing. I forgot to get your address, if you can say that for the record.
5505 North 290th Valley.
And then if approved here today, what's your timeline in terms of construction?
We'd like to get started probably this spring to summer of this year is the goal.
Okay. Yep. So I'm supportive of this as well, and part of the reason why I asked the timeline question is because Mr. Begley and I worked hard to relocate the city's 5th recycling drop-off center here on the site in the meantime, and it's the only central site in the city that used to be at the Walgreens at 72nd and Cass. And so, Mr. Stubbe, this is for you in Public Works. We have until that amount of time to find a new location for that central site, and I know we're going to work on that together and hopefully find one shortly. Thank you. There's a motion and a second to approve. Roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Consent agenda. Any member of the City Council may cause any item placed on the consent agenda to be removed. Items removed from the consent agenda shall be taken up by the City Council immediately following the consent agenda in the order in which they were removed, unless otherwise provided by the City Council Rules of Order.
The public hearings on agenda items 23 through 31 were held on November 26th. I don't see any further lights. Is there a motion? There's a motion and a second. Roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
The public hearings on agenda items 32 through 58 are today. If you wish to address the council regarding these items, please come to the microphone, indicate the agenda item number you wish to address, identify yourself by name, address, who you represent, and if you are a proponent or an opponent. These are items 32 through 58. I don't think I see anyone. Oh, go ahead.
Lindsay Toussaint, 5105 South 37th Street, here for number 55 Pace, proponent. I just want to say thanks for considering us in part of this. Wanted to give an update. I know I was just up here not too long ago, but wanted to kind of give an update on where we are with the winter programming. Basketball, we have 142 kids signed up. On chess, we've got 42, and on jiu-jitsu, we have 11, mostly female. So very excited. A lot of the support and funding allocated for this will go towards the coordination of the programming that we have slated for not only winter, but spring, summer, and fall. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other testifiers on these items?
Good afternoon, Matt Oberst, 324 North 91st Street here in Omaha. And I am the manager of the Blackstone Business Improvement District, proponent for item 42 and 43. And just wanted to thank the Public Works Department in their help getting this project off the ground, and Councilmember Bagley for his support, and the mayor for making some of the funds available for us. So thank you very much. I'll be here if you have any questions.
Thank you, Matt. And I would note also that the executive director of the Benson Business Improvement District, Joe Carmichael, was here earlier to testify on number 41 in favor. He had to leave, I think, to take his daughter to some events, but he wanted me to make sure and mention that he was in support of number 41, which is the Benson Business Improvement District doing a bollard project for pedestrian safety next year. Any other testifiers on these items?
A little bit hard to follow you, so I hope I'm on the right items. But essentially, I'd like to clarify by your rules. Can I comment on every one of these items? Do I have to sit down and come back up for every one of the items, or vote against all of them at one time?
You may state briefly why you're opposed to all of them at one time.
Okay. Well, essentially, I'm against all of them. However, number 32, number 53, number 54, 48, somewhat against 43 and 44. I used to live at 38th and Dewey, which is now, they were really nice older buildings that could have been very, very nicely redone, but they're gone for the UNO student medical people and to help justify the Blackstone District business, but it's a hole in the ground now. There's just too much of this stuff that really doesn't really need to be done at taxpayer expense one way or another. And maybe a lot of it's going to backfire substantially. I hope not, but I think it will. Older people are probably going to move out of the city because of the higher taxes. one way or another, you don't raise it, but the school district does. And just out of control. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other testifiers on these items. The public hearing's closed. Ms. Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you. I have 2 points of interest out of all of these resolutions. Earlier, during our pre-council, we talked about word usage as it relates to a point of clarification on the ARPA versus CARES Act. We have Steve Curtis with our finance department that had indicated during the pre-council meeting that he would state for the record a clarification of that. If you could do that at this time, please.
Steve Curtis, City Finance. The question was that the fund used for this says CARES Act funding. We have since used it for both CARES Act funding and ARPA funding, and kind of viewed it really as COVID relief funding. And in fact, I believe the name of that fund has been changed to COVID relief funding. So it's ARPA money, to answer your question.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then on item number 48, this is another very good project. But when I look at the attachments, I don't see any information regarding the streetscape plan. I don't see any supporting documentation, how much funds have been raised, what's our goal, things like that. I can get behind that if someone would please provide me with the additional information that is lacking in this agenda. It's not directed to anyone in particular because I'm not sure who is handling this matter.
Bob Stubbe, Public Works. So this is just an amendment to the program agreement with the DOT. They're the ones essentially that we have to work with in order to be able to utilize those funding. And so obviously the project itself will be something that will come later. Again, this is just a program agreement amendment with the DOT to accept those additional funding.
I have been approached with additional information questions regarding the look of this streetscape, as well as what is the goal in terms of what we're looking for in order to complete the project. Again, I can get behind this if I can get that information. So whoever has that information, if they can simply acknowledge that by saying that they're willing to provide that information to me, I would be in favor of supporting this.
Yeah, Public Works is willing to provide that information to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Mr. Rowe.
Thank you, Mr. President. Items 53, 54, 56, and 57 are all community service projects. And I was wondering if our finance director, Mr. Curtis, could explain to us how the Keno lottery dollars come to us so that we're able to do these kinds of community service projects.
Steve Curtis, City Finance. When Keno was started, it was understood that anything that comes to the city would be done as, or be used for city betterment. And so we get a fee for all the handles that happen throughout the city, and then we program it through the budgeting process. We'll program as much as we feel like we have in Keno revenue to go against these community support programs.
How would you characterize our, I mean, are we close to budget? Do we stay within budget?
Yeah, we typically budget in any particular year less than what we know we have, so we don't run out, and then we just continue to use it because it's designated for that only purpose. service.
Okay, I appreciate that. That's what I wanted to hear. That it's not general tax fund, taxpayer money. It's proceeds from people that are playing Keno in the parlor.
That's correct.
Appreciate that. Thanks.
Thank you. There's no further lights. Is there a motion on these items?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Item 59, a resolution to approve the reappointment of David Rossiker to the Urban Design Review Board.
The public hearing and vote on number 59 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. Ms. Johnson, you're recognized.
Mr. President, for purposes of media coverage, as I am being quoted, let's be clear of what my intentions are here today, because if I am misquoted on paper, in the news, I'm going to have much to say about it because I'm being very clear. I do not have enough information here as a city council representative to do due diligence. Therefore, I will be voting no on this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Harding.
I do have enough information to make a recommendation on this, and we'll move Mr. Rosaker's approval to the, as the ex officio member of the Urban Design Review Board.
Motion and a second. Mr. Hug.
Thank you, Mr. Harding, for once again stealing my thunder. Mr. Rosaker is a pillar of this community and very well respected individual. And had you not made the motion, I would have.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second to approve. Roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-1. Item 60, a resolution to approve the reappointment of Antonio Moore Sr. to the Park and Recreation Board.
Public hearing and vote on number 60 is today. Proponents, please.
Good afternoon, members. Antonio Moore, 4205 Franklin Street, Omaha, Nebraska, 68111. Here to support myself for this. Actually, I've been a member of the board as well as board chair for roughly 10 years. I actually thoroughly enjoy it, which was quite a surprise. Initially, I took the appointment just because I was doing a friend a favor, and then just kept running because I love it. It's actually quite enlightening, and I love being able to serve my community in a way that's maybe not quite out in front, but it allows us to get some things done for the greater Omaha area. I'm a big proponent of families and education in our youth and getting people out and moving, which is part of what I do with our nonprofit More Than Just a Village Academy. I work with our youth, and we've done several projects for the city parks as well over the course of time. I just find it engaging, and I hope that you'll approve my reappointment. Due to some family issues, I missed my deadline to turn in my paperwork, and that's part of why I'm going through this process again. But I definitely love it and definitely want to stay involved.
Thank you. Thanks for your service. Any other proponents that want to speak today? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. Ms. Johnson.
Thank you. Mr. Moore, thank you for coming today and presenting your purpose, your reason for being or accepting this opportunity to be engaged in the Parks Department. In communities in which I serve, many times those individuals have no connection to the number of committees that the city has appointed and put in place. So it is very important to me and also my community so that they can put a name with a face. And when individuals do not come in front of this body to do that, then my community suffers, and I'm not able to support those initiatives. But again, I thank you for coming forward today. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. No further lights. Is there a motion?
Second.
Motion is second to approve. Roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Item 61, an ordinance to approve the Central Park Plaza, the Duo Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Agreement.
Public hearing on number 61 is today. Proponents, please.
Good afternoon, Bridget Hadley, here with City Planning, here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Todd Easton, 222 South 15th Street. Same thing. Answer any questions you need.
Thanks. Any other proponents that want to speak today? Seeing none, any opponents?
Larry Store, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha 68132. Once again, I'm against most TIFs. I'm against this one. Specifically, another new garage, parking garage. I thought the idea was to keep people from coming downtown in their cars. So why are we building another new parking garage? In addition to what's going in for the mutual building, we had to buy the old mutual garage, and there's a new one out by the Blackstone, and there's some new ones down here, now another new one, between what I think used to be their older red building with 2 towers. I think that's what you're talking about here. But why encourage more cars to come downtown when you don't want them downtown? I thought the idea was to make the streetcar a success. So you've got all these other garages that you've bought or building all around the Blackstone area, south of Farnham, etc. I don't get it.
Any other opponents today? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. No further lights. Next item.
Item 62, an ordinance to amend Section 23-177 of the Omaha Municipal Code by adding the employment classification entitled Streetcar Operations Manager. Personnel Board recommends approval. B is communication in opposition.
Public hearing on number 62 is today. Proponents, please.
Good afternoon. Clary Anderson Hubbard, City Human Resources.
Chelsea Ship, City Human Resources.
Deb Sander, Human Resources. We're here to answer any questions on 62 through 66, as they're all classification related.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other proponents on number 62? Seeing none, any opponents?
Hello, Council. Joyce Von Drossek, 619 South 37th Street. I'm concerned with the nature of the streetcar authority and whether or not all of the streetcar business should be conducted by the Regional Metro Transit Authority instead of a private sort of public partnership organization. And I'm concerned, I'd like to know more about the streetcar manager and whether or not it's going to have some kind of special authority or whether it's just sort of liaison between the city and the streetcar authority. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other opponents?
Larry Store, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha 68132. This is another one I don't get because, we got lots of people that work for the Metro bus operation and people coming in to do this trolley folly. Do we not have somebody in Omaha that's qualified and already knows about the trolley folly that could be the operations manager, and we don't have to hire a new person at a lot more money? I don't, think you could look a little harder.
Any other opponents that want to speak today? Seeing none, public hearings closed. Mr. Harding, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a question for either Mr. Stubbe or Mr. Curtis. Just wanted to talk a little bit about the funding source for the salary from number 62.
Bob Stubbe, Public Works. So this particular position will work within the essentially Public Works within the Parking and Mobility Division. It will be a separate job classification that will manage the contract that will be sometime in the future awarded to a contractor that actually have operators, mechanics, administrative personnel to do the day-to-day operations of the streetcar. The funding for the streetcar will come from the Parking Enterprise Fund, which is from individuals using either parking meters or parking garages. And so this particular position will be funded either by the capital associated with funding the streetcar construction or the user fees that are provided by individuals parking at meters or parking garages.
Okay, so it's not general fund dollars.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. No further lights. Next item.
Item 63, an ordinance to amend Section 23-177 of the Omaha Municipal Code by changing the salary for the Convention Services and Housing Manager. Personnel Board recommends approval.
Public hearing on number 63 is today. Proponents, please. We'll note the HR department's here for the next several items. Any opponents? Public hearing is closed. Next item.
Item 64, an ordinance to amend Section 23-177 of the Omaha Municipal Code by changing the salary for the Economic Development Program Administrator. Personnel Board recommends approval.
Public hearing on 64 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed.
Item 65, an ordinance to amend Section 23-177 of the Omaha Municipal Code by changing the salary for the Mental Health Crisis Co-Responder. Personnel Board recommends approval.
Public hearing on 65 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, any opponents?
Larry Store, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha, 68132. I visit this hall for quite a few years now, listening to both bodies, and there's just so much mental health problems out there. How do we know that one mental health co-responder is going to be enough in the city of Omaha? Do they ride are they going to ride with a police officer? Who dispatches the co-responder and when? I remember years ago when we tried to get some help for a man that was sleeping outside the Salvation Army in bushes. They couldn't seem to do much help for him except get him a bus ticket back to Minnesota, I think it was. But there's a lot of so-called experts out there and best practices that don't really get it with mental illness. It's not always the same. It doesn't fit the checklist that they carry with them to say, oh, hell, Larry must be mentally ill because he exhibits this or he exhibits that. So let's pull him over and take him in for assessment. That sort of violated a lot of people's rights to start with. Just because I fly my flag upside down doesn't mean I'm mentally ill. I might be touched. Because I shoot my mouth off here all the time doesn't mean I'm mentally ill. Yes, I'm touched. And rightfully so. There's a cause. Every mental illness, every disability has a cause. And I can tell you from my own experience with a family member that these experts that are DSM oriented and checklist oriented are not necessarily doing their job for helping the person. They say they are, but they're really not, because they're not interested in the whole family, the whole situation. They're only interested in the DSM-4 or DSM-5 and get them out of here so I can bring the next patient in. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other opponents? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Next item.
Item 66, an ordinance to amend Section 23-177 of the Omaha Municipal Code by changing the salary for the Librarian 1. Personnel Board recommends approval.
Public hearing on number 66 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed.
Item 67, an ordinance to approve a Master Health Services Agreement with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Nebraska.
Public hearing on number 67 is today. Proponents, please.
Good afternoon. Kristen Cavill, City Benefits Manager.
Deb Zandon, Human Resources, here for both 67 and 68. It's an extension of our current contracts with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Nebraska as our third-party administrator for health insurance, and then an extension, 2 one-year extensions on Caremark for our prescription benefit processing.
Thank you. Any other proponents today? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing's closed.
Item 68, an ordinance to approve an addendum to the prescription benefit services agreement between Caremark PCS Health LLC and Employers Health Purchasing Corporation.
Public hearing on number 68 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing's closed.
Item 69, an ordinance to approve a 3-year renewal of annual subscription services with Sound Thinking, Inc. for the gunshot location system for the Omaha Police Department.
Public hearing on number 69 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. Next item.
Item 70, an ordinance to amend various sections of Chapter 10 of the Omaha Municipal Code by increasing the threshold to $50,000 for public bidding on city contracts and approval of city contracts by the Omaha City Council.
Public hearing on number 70 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed.
Item 71, an ordinance to approve a redevelopment agreement with the Omaha Children's Museum and Omaha Children's Trust.
Public hearing on number 71 is today. Proponents, thanks for getting all ready in the front row there.
I do have a picture. Do I just put it under?
Yeah, yeah. You can raise the little bar there all the way to the top. Yeah.
Okay.
It'll come on in a second, and then you can focus on the top there too if you need to.
Oh, there it is.
Little button on top will zoom out if you need it.
I think I got it.
Yeah, looks good.
That's good. Hello. Good afternoon. I'm Fawn Taylor, Omaha Children's Museum CEO. Address 500 South 20th Street, Omaha, Nebraska 68102. I'm here to speak on Ordinance 44095 and urge the approval of the redevelopment agreement for the site at 8th and Douglas Streets, the future site of the Omaha Children's Museum. For nearly 50 years, Omaha Children's Museum has been a special place where children can challenge themselves, discover how the world works, and learn through play. We want to do more. More room to welcome more children and caregivers, the ability to create fun spaces designed intentionally for children of all abilities. A location that's more accessible and joins in all of the excitement already happening at the riverfront. Nebraska is home of many of the nation's experts on early childhood education, and we're working hand in hand with them to ensure this museum is unlike anything else in the country. Omaha Children's Museum is focused on affordability and accessibility, particularly in reaching children of varied backgrounds in Omaha and providing them with fun, high-quality early learning experiences. Today, we are proud to promote the museum's affordability and access through our $10 Welcome Fund memberships for families in need. Free Early Childhood Explorers memberships for local families qualifying for the child care subsidy. We distributed over 1,000 of these memberships this year. Participation in the free Omaha Public Library Pass program and partnerships with over 30 Title I area schools. We also host special events for visitors who are sensory sensitive and more. In our new purpose-built museum, with exhibits and experiences guided by early childhood experts, we will be able to go even further in expanding access to affordability, high-quality early care, early child development, and experiences for everyone. We also love that this new museum would complement other attractions in the riverfront area, especially the Kiewit Luminarium, which is primarily focused on science learning. If all goes according to plan, the new museum will be open in late 2027. Omaha Children's Museum will continue to operate out of our current location until that point, at which time we intend to sell our property at 20th Street and St. Mary's Avenue to support the future new museum. I would appreciate your support in passing this redevelopment agreement and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Other proponents?
I can't see over, but I think you're out there.
You can pull the microphone down if you need to.
That's okay. Good afternoon. I'm Susan Labens, one of the people championing this project, and also part of the Omaha Children's Trust. The address is 10050 Regency Circle, Suite 101, Omaha, Nebraska, 68114. Omaha Children's Trust is a nonprofit group fundraising for this project and facilitating the design, build, and activation of the new Omaha Children's Museum in partnership with Heritage Omaha. Fawn and her team at the museum and other supporters like myself and my husband, Mike. Mike and I have spent a lot of time over the years at the Omaha Children's Museum with our children and now our grandchildren, and have served the museum in various ways as volunteers and supporters. We love what the museum has done for our community for the past nearly 50 years, and we know it's capable of doing so much more. That's why we're taking a leading role in this project. This redevelopment agreement allows the city to generously lease Omaha Children's Museum the land for this project, allowing the museum to invest more in project funds into our new building, programs, and services. We've partnered with internationally renowned design firm Snowhetta and our trusted local architects, Allie Pointer Marchietta Architecture, as you can see the rendering of the museum design, which we think is wonderful. They recently worked together to complete the beautiful Jocelyn Art Museum renovation and expansion. We know that a dynamic, leading-edge children's museum with intentional and inclusive building experience design and operations will further Omaha's place as a family-friendly regional destination and the best place to be a kid. The riverfront location will help to grow attendance at the museum, which means the museum will hire additional staff to meet community needs. A new independent cafe partner will be located on site and open to all riverfront visitors. This will also mean more new jobs for downtown. Omaha Children's Trust is committed to making this project a reality, including raising the private money to build and fully activate the museum. We're grateful for the city's support of this vision and excited about adding another project to the more than $1 billion in transformational projects that are happening in the downtown area. I'd be happy to answer any questions and would appreciate your support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other proponents? All right. Seeing none, any opponents? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Mr. Harding, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Susan, Mike, Fawn, Rachel, and Heritage, quite simply, thank you. I mean, this is, Susan just touched a little bit about this too, is the investment that's been made in our downtown core is just truly transformational for our city. And I talk a lot about the importance of the public-private partnerships that we have in the city, and because of the interest and the commitment of the private sector, the philanthropic and charitable communities who are willing to invest in Omaha and trust to be partners with the city of Omaha. We're very fortunate that we have that kind of an arrangement. And really, as I said, thank you, just on behalf of the citizens of Omaha, but really, Susan pointed this out too, on behalf of the children. We do thank you for your commitment, and we as your partners, we the city as your partners, will be committed to make sure that this facility, like the rest of the facilities in the downtown riverfront parks, continue to thrive and survive and serve not only our citizens, but all the visitors who come to Omaha. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Begley.
Thanks, Mr. President. I'll just comment, I don't know how many decades the Children's Museum's been at 20th and St. Mary's there, but I had great memories. You get
Almost 50.
50. I was going to say it's almost as old as I am.
Must have been a long time.
Yeah, right. I set that up, didn't I? That my kids and I really enjoyed that when they were young, and I know generations have. And while I'm sad to see it move out of my district, I can't be more excited than 8th and Douglas with all the transformation going on in our city. And I'm looking forward to in late '27 when you move out that there'll be another exciting project to take over 20th and St. Mary's. But this is just an exciting, fabulous project that I love the old Children's Museum, and I can't wait to see what this new one looks like because it's going to be bigger and better and just great for our city. So I look forward to future support of this. Thanks, Mr. President.
Thank you. I look forward to supporting this next week as well. I've always said every great city has a great children's museum, and it is truly a remarkable partnership amongst the city here and philanthropy and heritage services and the Labans to help get this accomplished. I was a former board member 20 years ago. Not quite as far as Mr. Bagley maybe, but pretty far. And when I was there, Susan was there, and so was Sandy Parker. And I think some of the origins go back to Dave Carnes. So it's remarkable your service to this organization and what you're doing for them now over that long period of time. So I appreciate that as well. Ms. Johnson, you're recognized.
Yes, I would like to echo the sentiments that have already been made. And then I would like to emphasize the importance of thanking you for moving your location to my district. Thank you.
Thank you. No further lights. Next item.
Item 72, an ordinance to approve the Frame Apartments and Millwork Hotel Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Agreement.
Public hearing on number 72 is today. Proponents, please.
Yeah, good afternoon, Don Seaton, City Planning, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have on this agreement.
Thank you. Any other proponents? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing's closed.
Item 73, an ordinance to approve an amendment to the city's master plan for the Omaha Climate Action and Resilience Plan. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval. B is communications and support.
The public hearing on number 73 is today. I understand we'll have a bit of a presentation by the mayor's office and the planning department, and then we'll have proponents and then opponents.
All right. Thank you. I will pull up the presentation. Yeah, I see it. Hey, Marco Floriani, Mayor's Office. I just want to thank you for your time. I'm here in support of the city's first Climate Action and Resiliency Plan. I have a few slides here going over the plan, the Climate Action and Resiliency Plan, wanting to start with thanking city council members, city staff, and public stakeholders for their involvement here. Lots of thoughtful input throughout this process. And it was a long process and a pretty big undertaking. Starting with just a definition of what climate action means in terms of this plan, it's purposeful activity to address climate change and reduce contributions to it. With resiliency, with the R in CARP, the capacity to withstand and respond and recover from climate impacts. This plan focuses on both of those elements throughout. And really shows kind of the dynamics between investment in resiliency is also an investment in climate action and reducing our risk to being a vulnerable community. Our stated goal is 52% reduction by 2035 with 100% by 2050. These goals are very similar to other peer cities we have, Des Moines, Kansas City, Oklahoma City, Chicago, Denver. I also point out that these goals are shared by many in the private sector as well. Locally, First National Bank has the same goals we have stated here, as well as Warner Enterprises. So one of the largest trucking companies in North America has similar goals. Nationally, Tyson Foods has the same goals, as well as ExxonMobil, showing that these goals do cut across industries from the financial sector, the public sector, to food production. In the process here, we had a countless number of events spanning really about 14 months or 18-month time frame with kind of an intense amount of that done after we had finished the baseline documents. So the plan states 2,800 community members were involved. We'll make a correction because HDR, who helped with the public participation element, provided that there were over 4,500 involved in the end with putting this document together. We had a number of public meetings throughout the city and surveys as well. On those surveys, I do want to point out that 70% of the public showed that they were either very or moderately concerned about the effects of climate change on public health and public infrastructure. This very much aligned with other statistically accurate studies done nationally. So we felt like it was in line with what other national studies had done, which was good to see. Also wanted to just point out this wasn't new territory for the city or even the region. What I've pulled up is 22 other plans and studies that relate to sustainability, climate action, vulnerability, and disaster response, just as this plan does. So it really was a synthesis of looking at all these other plans that many partners have put together. Some of the potential impacts that are considered in this plan are waste management, flooding and water resources, air quality, transportation, buildings, and energy use. From an emissions overview, we did include kind of a portfolio of where emissions in Omaha, what their source is. You see the largest is electricity, followed by mobile combustion. Through our public input and our teams that worked on this, the key areas of emphasis were energy use, mobility, waste management, equity, and policy action. And in the end, we address 8 sectors with 47 strategies and 171 actions for our journey here, or our roadmap. These actions will take much collaborative effort, and they are voluntary, and many of the actions would have to come back to City Council for implementation. I have our consultant, Ted Redmond with Pale Blue Dot here, as well as members of the City Planning Department that help lead this work. I'm happy to answer more details. Again, I appreciate your time. I've had the chance to brief all of you at some point, but many of you throughout this entire process. And so most recently having a briefing on the plan that's before you today. We're happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Other proponents, or presenters, I should say first. Okay, proponents, please.
Hello, David Corbin, 1002 North 49th Street, representing the Missouri Valley Group Sierra Club and the Sierra Club state chapter. I'd sent in an email earlier because I wasn't sure if I was going to make it. Fortunately, your meeting went late and I was able to be. We represent over 900 members right here in the Omaha area, and I just want to reiterate some of the things that I said in the email, and also to add some things. Earlier, I was watching online, and earlier I saw that there was much discussion about affordable housing, and what an important part of affordable housing is how much you have to pay for utilities, particularly electricity. As you may know, OPPD is going to be raising their rates, and so it's not just how much rent you pay. So energy efficiency and other renewable energy is important. I bring up some things because oftentimes people say, oh, that's a Sierra Club, you know, they've been hugging trees forever, and, you know, they're not in touch with the real world. I want to reemphasize what I quoted in my email. So the Nebraska Chamber came out, and I'm going to quote, net zero will require greater resource investments and changes in resources, including renewables, battery storage, and demand-side alternatives. This is an opportunity to consider streamlining zoning and permitting processes for renewables and be more consistent across counties. The energy landscape can play an important role in part of a diverse portfolio of generation resources. And the U.S. Chamber of Commerce says similar things. Adaptation and resilience is critical to minimizing the risk and impacts of climate change. Business is ready to design and build the resilient, low-carbon infrastructure of the future. As a part of the group that helped to put together this plan, I strongly support it. As in any plan, there will be still time for adjusting certain things. But we also, the state has $307 million grant, of which Omaha is eligible for a lot of that for energy efficiency and renewable energy. And also the Center for Rural Affairs, even though it's called Rural Affairs, it also can cover solar for low-income family, particularly in North and South Omaha. So I strongly support this. I hope you will too. Thank you.
Thank you. Other proponents?
Luis Jimenez, 2709 Dewey Avenue. I support CAPS, but I'll support this one if I can get the presentation. I don't know if the clerk will have it in the minutes or something like that.
It is online, yes.
It's online? Okay. So outside what is normally thought of when you talk about an action plan, I saw there's equity. I think that is important. And I would just say that one of the action pieces would be to have microloans available to residents. I think that would go a long way with equity. Thank you.
Thank you. Other proponents?
My name is Mary Ruth Stegman. I live at 4512 Pierce Street, 68106. I was privileged to be a member of the Omaha Climate Action and Resilience Plan. I contributed to the waste management and health and safety sections, and I attended every meeting. I hope that the council will adopt this plan with its numerous recommendations to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The reduction of greenhouse gases is a primary goal of the plan and was stated in the executive summary at the beginning of the plan. While the waste management section places emphasis on reuse, recycling, and organic recovery of materials, I think that the section might have included more emphasis on plastic waste management. Plastic is a greenhouse gas. It is ubiquitous. I have a plastic bag in my tree right now. It'll probably be there all winter. I'm not alone. There are many types of plastic. Some are recyclable, some are not, and can be disposed of through the Hefty Renew program, commonly known as the orange bags. And a substantial amount of plastic that ends up in the Pheasant Point landfill is potentially recyclable, as according to the data on page 4-4 of the plan. Again, the waste management section might emphasize plastic waste specifically through public education and its specific actions to properly dispose of plastic. Thank you for your interest and support of the Omaha Climate Action and Resilience Plan and for listening to my concerns about plastic disposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Other proponents?
Hi, I am Samantha Neiman. I'm here representing Hillside Solutions, a local eco-friendly and friendly waste management company that owns and operates the area's only commercial composting facility. We are dedicated to sustainability and waste reduction. I'm here to voice my support for the Climate Action Plan, particularly regarding the inclusion and prioritization of food waste diversion from the city. Food waste makes up a significant amount in our landfills, where it generates harmful methane emissions. By implementing citywide food waste initiatives, we can reduce greenhouse gases, create compost for local use, and build more sustainable future for our community. I urge the council to ensure food waste solutions are a key part of the plan. Thank you.
Thank you. And just your address for the record, too?
my address?
Yeah.
4105 North, where do I live? 4105 North 195th Street, Elkhorn, Nebraska 68002.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Other proponents?
Good afternoon, Omaha City Council President Festerson and council members. My name is Bridget Navratil. I am the Sustainability Program Manager for Omaha Public Power District, 444 South 16th Street Mall, Omaha, Nebraska 68102. The Omaha Public Power District supports the adoption of the Omaha Climate Action and Resilience Plan. OPPD is governed by an elected 8-member board of directors who is interested in directing positive environmental outcomes through our Strategic Directive 7 Environmental Stewardship, which focuses on carbon mitigation and climate adaptation to address climate change. We are generally supportive of community organizations, businesses, and government entities that develop their own climate strategies, including the City of Omaha CARP. OPPD has currently reduced GHG emissions by 40.6% since 2013. That is of our 2023 data, even with a load growth increasing 12%, and plans to continue to reduce as the company works towards achieving net zero by 2050. By year end 2027, OPPD shall achieve an approximate 3.5 million ton annual reduction in carbon emission equivalents. We appreciate this plan as a living document as we will need your partnership in flexibility as we continue to navigate balancing our mission of providing affordable, environmentally sensitive energy services with the need for resiliency. We invite you and the public to visit OPPDcommunityconnect.com to learn more about OPPD's journey to harden our critical infrastructure to the effects of climate change in the upcoming years. Thank you.
Thank you. Other proponents?
Hi, Stephen Osberg, 1536 Cummings Street. I'm Vice President of Paul G. Smith Associates, the investment company behind the Capital District and Millwork Commons. Thanks for approving our TIF just a minute ago. I'm here to lend our support for the Omaha Climate and Resilience Action Plan. You know, we're big fans at PGSA of building walkable neighborhoods with sustainable transportation options, environmentally friendly building methods and operations that are more efficient. We are total big backers of waste management, including composting and recycling. We support native plant landscaping and green stormwater solutions. We're happy to do our part to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and we fully support the city's efforts to achieve net zero through this plan. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there 12 copies there, just like the legislature?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good afternoon, President Festerson, members of the City Council. My name is Heath Mello, and I serve as President and CEO of the Greater Omaha Chamber, located at 808 Conagra Drive, Suite 400, Omaha, Nebraska 68102. I'm here today on behalf of the Greater Omaha Chamber and our nearly 3,000 members to voice our support for agenda item number 73, which would adopt the Omaha Climate Action and Resilience Plan, and to highlight the economic development opportunities and regulatory considerations embedded in this vital initiative. We want to thank Mayor Stothert for her leadership in pursuing the federal funding that led to the creation of this plan, as well as other council members, particularly President Festerson, who's been advocating for this action for a number of years. We also recognize MAPA as a trusted partner who has and will assist the city throughout this process. The Resilient Economy section of the plan makes it clear that climate action is not just an environmental imperative, it's an economic opportunity. By embracing this plan, Omaha can position itself as a leader in the green economy, fostering innovation, job creation, and long-term economic stability. The transition to a climate-resilient economy offers a unique chance to grow local businesses, attract new industries, and enhance our workforce. Investments in renewable energy, energy efficiency, and sustainable infrastructure will create well-paying jobs in sectors such as solar and wind energy, green building retrofits, and sustainable agriculture. By targeting 1,000 new green careers by 2030, this plan provides a clear roadmap to upskill our workforce and ensure access to equitable opportunities. Moreover, the plan emphasizes the potential for entrepreneurship through initiatives like the establishment of a green tech and business incubator. This program will encourage innovation while supporting small and emerging businesses, a key driver of Omaha's economy. By fostering local talent and retaining more wealth within the community, we not only improve our resilience, but also amplify economic returns. With that as a goal, this plan calls for partnerships with educational organizations, institutions, and trade unions to create pathways for workers to develop the scientific and technical skills required in the climate economy. While the economic opportunities are vast, successful implementation of this plan also depends on thoughtful regulatory reform. We must also ensure that policies foster innovation and support businesses as they navigate the transition to more sustainable practices. Regulatory frameworks should prioritize clarity and efficiency, reducing barriers while encouraging compliance and investment in green technologies. I urge the Council to adopt this plan and commit to partnerships with the private sector and common sense policies that will bring it to life. Together, we can build a cleaner, stronger, and more equitable Omaha. Thank you for your leadership on this matter and for the opportunity to speak with you today. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Other proponents?
Good afternoon. My name's Christy Abdul Green with Keep Omaha Beautiful, 1819 Farnham Street. I'll just echo exactly what Heath said. No, but I just want to say, Keep Omaha Beautiful, we really support this plan. We were part of 4 of the different sector meetings that occurred, and so we're involved in across several months. There was really great communication and conversation that occurred across sectors. I'll say we have the opportunity to work with over 5,000 volunteers this year from Elkhorn all the way down to the riverfront, north and south. And we are getting more questions about what are you doing about the changing climate? What's KOB's role in that? We get phone calls. We work with a lot of students and educators who are asking for information on this and education on this. And so it appears, and the data showed, that the community is interested in this. They want to know more about it. They want to be involved in that. And we also have a lot of corporate funders who are coming to us asking the same questions and are interested in funding things that are related to this. So I think with the city, we have some great momentum. As you all know, you've supported our tree plantings, which is a big part of this. We do a lot with wastewater pollution work, partnering with the city. We are doing a lot of education around composting, as that's a great opportunity to reduce our waste. So there's a lot of really great momentum, and I like that this plan sets up metrics. I think something that's really important that we need to make sure that we follow through with is this should not just be a document that sits on the shelf. It needs to be a living document that has some accountability where we can really meet regularly. Otherwise, it's just a piece of paper. And so I think whatever we put into place, we need the support to make sure that we're coming together to continually work on this and make it actually happen. So I think that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other proponents today? I don't see any. We'll go to opponents.
Larry Store, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha 68132. Dream the impossible dream. Reach the unreachable star. Let no man put us under. You know, common sense plays a part in a lot of things, but it doesn't seem to anymore. I doubt if there's anybody in here older than I am, but somebody might remember before television came in, there were lots of good books, such as Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, predicted an atomic submarine. Well, that came true, but it didn't solve all the problems, did it? Why do we think that we can solve Mother Nature's problems? I think there's a person up there that supposedly controls all that. I don't think you can stop the earth from revolving, which changes the seasons. Right now we've tilted the other way, so we're going into winter. I don't think you can stop that. Don't charge my pocketbook for that. Stop some of this ridiculous stuff and use common sense. Let the people that control the earth solve it. That guy up there. it's okay to hope, to have a goal, but to fill us with all this Dr. McGillicuddy snake bitter stuff, we can solve it with a drink of that. Like in the old westerns, the guy would come into town in the circus wagon. No, that's a sales pitch. Omaha Chamber of Commerce, what do you say, 2,000 members? Is that enough to overdo everything that citizens, you don't hear from other citizens? There's more citizens that disagree with this theory than there are members of the Chamber of Commerce. And take a drive down Cummings Street towards my area. Take that Northwest Radio thing there and look at that area. Get that cleaned up before we clean up the environment. We need to probably get ready for a lot of illegals too, don't we? What are we gonna do for money when all the illegals start surfacing? Government might not round them all up right away. So they'll be hanging out on Cummings Street and Northwest Rail Highway or Walnut Hill, invading more buildings right here in Omaha. I'm surprised the hotels haven't been taken over. But we don't talk about that, do we? But you can't solve all this stuff. So why quit? Why keep trying? Thank you. Just to encourage people to act responsibly.
Any other opponents today? Seeing none, public hearing's closed. Mark, I might just ask you a few follow-up questions, and then we'll see if there's any other lights today. First of all, I want to thank you for your work on this, and also, Robert, I think we wouldn't be here today, but for your willingness to get involved in this and really move it to where we are today and hopefully get it across the finish line next week. And also to all the great partners that are here, thank you for being here too. It's not the city alone, of course, in something like this. So to have OPPD at the table is a key partner, the Chamber of Commerce, our business community, certainly our advocacy organizations. We also have letters from Omaha Public Schools and Creighton University, University of Nebraska, MAPA that was mentioned, and Students for Sustainability, who I think couldn't be here today because they're in school. But they've been longtime advocates for this and understand what we're trying to accomplish here. And I've always said, I think all major cities have already adopted one of these plans and are working on it. So I'm glad we're getting to this point and excited about it. I think it's the right thing to do, not only for the environment, but a lot of common sense recommendations are in here that can save taxpayers money as well and help us prepare for resilience with some of the things we've seen in the last couple of years that are very expensive to homeowners and taxpayers when we talk about tornadoes and floods and windstorms. So I appreciate the goal. I'm supportive of the objective of a net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050 and also having an intermediate goal along the way. As you mentioned, it's a 10-year implementation timeline and 8 sectors, 47 strategies, and 189 actions. That's a lot of stuff. So my questions for you today are around implementation, because I think that is the key. Should this be adopted next week, how are we going about implementation of these things? And from everything I've read and from every other city I've spoken to, including Lincoln, who's already adopted a plan, that very first year is very important to reaching your goals 10 years from now and in 2050. So, Marco, I guess a question for you or the mayor's office: how will ongoing measurement and accountability be achieved through this process, and what do you think the first few priorities would be in 2025 we would try to accomplish?
Marco, excuse me, Marco Floriani, Mayor's Office. Sure. Thank you. That's a great question with implementation. I wanted to kind of go back to when we started this plan. Trust was really important to the group. Internally, that was working on this plan, was building trust. And we thought it was important that this plan goes before City Council before we really start to get ahead of ourselves as far as implementation goes. But we will be establishing an internal team here at the city to look at prioritizing projects that are referenced in the plan, as well as continuing to work with those that were in working groups or an external committee to help prioritize some of those. One target area was in composting, for instance, was a very big priority. Didn't matter where we were in the city or who we were meeting with. It seemed like people were coming to the table wanting to see more done from composting perspective, from a recycling perspective, making sure that our landfills stand the test of time and that we can reduce emissions by curbing what we send to the landfill. And so an early project we believe would be looking at ways to partner with others in the community, the county being one, to help find a way to invest in some landfill projects, specifically growing our carbon, our biogas elements, as well as and primarily kind of expanding various composting opportunities at specific sites. That's one first project that comes to mind, only because I have emails kind of discussing that opportunity. It's associated with a federal grant. So we will be establishing a team to prioritize these actions and surely be back to City Council, hopefully for more support over these projects and discussing the co-benefits of those projects.
Okay. And do you feel that the mayor and the mayor's administration is committed to moving forward in 2025?
I feel the mayor's office, the mayor, as well as the planning department, public works, parks, legal department, everybody's, I've mentioned, have been on board with helping us with implementation. Planning department would continue to be kind of running point on those items, but with full support of other city departments and the mayor's office.
Thank you. I don't see any further lights for today. There may be some next week, but we appreciate everyone who came to testify today, and thank you for bringing the plan to us for vote next week.
Thank you.
Non-action items, items 74 through 88, do not require a public hearing or city council consideration at this meeting, but will be placed on a future agenda for public hearing and or vote. The reason for non-action is noted after the item on the agenda, as well as the date the item is expected to appear on agenda for consideration.
Is there a motion to adjourn? I'll second. Roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Meeting is adjourned at 4:28.
Thank you.